Single dad accidentally joked with a disabled CEO. Her reply made the entire bar go silent. Mark Dawson had learned the hard way that life never waited for anyone. 3 years after losing his wife to cancer, every morning began before sunrise. He packed lunches, braided his 8-year-old daughter, Lily's hair as best as he could, worked double shifts as a mechanical technician, and somehow still found enough energy to smile for the little girl who believed her father could fix anything. But there was one thing Mark could never repair: his own exhausted heart. That rainy Friday evening, after dropping Lily at his sister's house for the weekend, he walked into a quiet downtown bar for the first time in months, hoping for nothing more than a hot meal and 30 peaceful minutes. What happened inside would change not only his life but the lives of everyone who witnessed it, if you believe kindness, second chances, and judging people by their hearts instead of appearances still matter. Armin hesitated. Please like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone you love, and subscribe to Beyond Kindness for more unforgettable stories that restore faith in humanity. The bar buzzed with soft jazz and quiet conversations. Most people were dressed in expensive business clothes, celebrating another successful week. Mark felt slightly out of place in his worn work jacket, with grease stains that never completely disappeared. As he searched for an empty seat, he noticed the only available spot beside a young woman sitting alone in a sleek wheelchair. She wore a cream-colored dress beneath a camel-colored coat, and although she looked elegant, there was sadness hidden behind her calm expression. Mark smiled politely before taking the seat beside her. Trying to ease his own nervousness with harmless humor, he looked around the room, crowded with couples, and casually said that since every other seat was taken, maybe fate had decided she was his blind date after all. The woman slowly turned toward him. Instead of looking offended, she studied his tired eyes for several seconds before quietly replying that life had already taken her ability to walk. But she hoped it had not taken his ability to truly see people. The entire bar fell silent. Even the bartender stopped drying glasses. Mark's smile disappeared instantly. His face turned pale as embarrassment crashed over him. He immediately apologized, explaining that he had meant no disrespect and had simply tried to make an awkward situation less uncomfortable. The woman continued looking at him. Then something unexpected happened. She smiled, not because the joke was funny, but because his apology was real. She admitted that most people either pitied her or pretended she didn't exist. Very few apologized sincerely when they made mistakes. She introduced herself as Victoria Hale. Mark introduced himself without recognizing the name. Several people across the room exchanged surprised glances. Everyone in the city knew Victoria Hale. She was the billionaire CEO of Hale Automotive Technologies, one of the country's fastest-growing engineering companies. 2 years earlier, a devastating helicopter accident had left her permanently unable to walk. Since then, she had returned to work refusing sympathy while rebuilding both her company and her confidence. Mark, however, had no idea who she was. To him, she was simply another lonely person sitting alone on a Friday night. That simple fact intrigued Victoria more than anything. Instead of ending the conversation, she asked Mark why he looked even more exhausted than most people after a full work week. For the next hour, Mark spoke honestly. He shared how raising Lily alone often felt impossible. Every unexpected bill became another sleepless night. Promotions at work always went to employees willing to relocate or work weekends, something he could never do because his daughter always came first. He admitted that sometimes he feared Lily deserved a better father than a man who constantly worried about money. Victoria listened carefully without interrupting. When Mark finished, she quietly asked what kind of work he did. He explained that although he had never attended college because of financial struggles, he had spent 20 years repairing industrial engines and designing small mechanical improvements that saved his employers thousands of dollars. Unfortunately, those ideas were usually credited to supervisors rather than the workers who created them. Victoria's expression changed. She began asking technical questions that only experienced engineers could answer. To her surprise, Mark answered everyone with confidence, offering practical solutions that many university graduates overlooked. For the first time in years, Victoria met someone who understood machines the same way she did, not through textbooks, but through experience. Before leaving, she handed Mark a simple business card. He thanked her politely, slipped it into his wallet without reading it, and went home believing he had simply met an interesting stranger. The following Monday, while searching for cash to buy groceries, he discovered the card. His eyes widened. Victoria Hale, Chief Executive Officer, Hale Automotive Technologies. At first he laughed, convinced it had to be fake. Then curiosity won. He sent a brief email thanking her for the conversation. Less than 10 minutes later, his phone rang. Victoria personally invited him to visit company headquarters. Mark almost declined. He owned only one decent shirt. His confidence had been buried beneath years of disappointment, but Lily insisted he go. She reminded him that heroes became heroes because they showed up when life gave them one chance. The next morning, Mark entered Hale Automotive's headquarters feeling completely overwhelmed by towering glass walls and hundreds of employees. Victoria greeted him herself. Instead of offering him a management position or charity, she led him directly into the company's research department. Several expensive engine prototypes sat unfinished. Their engineers had spent months trying to solve an overheating problem. Victoria simply asked Mark what he thought. He quietly examined the machinery. Within 20 minutes, he sketched a redesigned cooling system using fewer parts while improving efficiency. The room became silent. Senior engineers double-checked his calculations. Every number worked. 1 month later, testing confirmed his design exceeded every expectation. The innovation saved the company millions of dollars. Victoria offered Mark a senior engineering position with a salary he had never imagined possible. He accepted only after asking one question: would he still have enough time to take Lily to school every morning? Victoria smiled. She immediately approved flexible hours. She understood that great employees were also parents, caregivers, and human beings. Over the following year, Mark transformed the engineering department. Instead of competing against coworkers, he encouraged teamwork. He insisted every mechanic, technician, and junior employee receive public credit for their ideas. Innovation exploded throughout the company. Employee satisfaction reached record highs. Victoria watched proudly as the culture slowly changed. One evening, long after everyone else had gone home, Victoria admitted something she had never told anyone. The night they first met in the bar, she had secretly planned to resign as CEO. Years of pain, loneliness, and constant judgment had finally broken her spirit. She believed people saw only the wheelchair, not the woman. Then a tired single father accidentally made an awkward joke, sincerely apologized, and spent an hour treating her like an ordinary human being. That simple act reminded her that genuine kindness still existed. Mark quietly admitted that meeting her had saved him too. Until that evening, he believed life had already given him everything it intended to give. Instead, it had simply been preparing him for a better chapter. Months later, Hale Automotive hosted its annual company celebration. Hundreds of employees gathered in the same downtown bar where everything had begun. Victoria stood before the crowd and shared the story of their first meeting. Everyone laughed at Mark's embarrassing joke. Then many wiped away tears as Victoria explained how one honest apology had changed 2 lives forever. She ended her speech with words nobody forgot. She said that disabilities were not always visible. Some people carried wheelchairs, Others carried grief, loneliness, guilt, or impossible responsibilities. Before judging anyone, remember that every stranger is fighting a battle you cannot see. The room stood in complete silence before erupting into applause. Mark looked across the room at Lily, now smiling proudly beside her father. For the first time since losing his wife, he no longer felt alone. He had discovered something far more valuable than success. He had found hope. Before we end, tell us in the comments, what is one small act of kindness that changed your life forever? Your story could inspire someone else who desperately needs hope today. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to Beyond Kindness. Your support helps us continue bringing inspiring stories that remind the world compassion still has the power to change lives. Sometimes the greatest miracles don't begin with perfect words. They begin with honest mistakes, sincere apologies, and hearts willing to see beyond appearances. And perhaps that is the kind of kindness our world needs.